Welcome back everyone for part 2 of our Colombia versus Japan. Next, we're going to be talking about Tinder horror stories. So, Mr. Loki, I'm joined by
Alex, yeah, and I do not have a horrific Tinder story, but just a funny story.
Please tell us what happened.
Okay, yeah. So I up with this lady. We decided to meet at the supermarket because of the pandemic, and then so we met at the supermarket, and then we bought our stuff, and we walked out, and we walked about like 2 kilometers, and then I asked her where we going, and then she was like, where are we going? And then we're standing there looking at ourselves like, oh, I was following you, and she was following me. And then it was just a funny story, like, we're expecting babies. Yeah, but yeah, that was the only experience.
I think it's a really good sign though that clearly there was potential because,
Yeah.
you know, both
She
were
wanted
expecting
to
to go
go
somewhere.
with me.
So then what happened? The night just got really late and you went home?
No, we actually then went to my place, and then,
Okay.
yeah, we cooked.
But a little bit lost in translation.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. They like to cook, so
Okay.
it was something she wanted to do.
Okay. So my story is what made me lose faith in Tinder in Japan. And for a while I've been swiping, and I matched with a profile. And she didn't speak a lot of English, but we agreed to meet up, and we agreed to go to a sort of Italian-themed restaurant. And it wasn't Caesarea, but one similar to Caesarea. And that was red flag number 1. Most normal Japanese people won't go to Caesarea because high school students go there. It's a family restaurant sort of. So not really considered a romantic location. But, you know, it didn't matter, I didn't know, I was a bit naive. So we went there. And I did my best to speak Japanese. And she didn't understand the word I said. And that was red flag number 2. I thought maybe it's because my Japanese wasn't very good, but generally she didn't know a lot of Japanese. So I was like, oh, interesting. So I asked her where she was from. And she told me Canada. And I said, oh, interesting. Where in Canada are you from? Vancouver? And she didn't say the place. I said north or south. So she didn't say where in Canada, but Canada. I said, oh, I asked her, do you speak French? And she's like, no, English, I'm from Canada. I'm like, oh, interesting. All right. Next, she started ordering. She ordered a pizza. Then she ordered another pizza. Then she ordered another pizza after that. So that's now 3 pizzas and breadsticks. And I was wondering, is she going to eat all these pizzas? And then she said, no, I'm going to take it and eat it throughout the week. And I was like, oh, this is really weird. And it turns out she was not actually Japanese, but was just meeting up with people on Tinder to get a free meal. And I found the whole thing so hilarious that I said, you know what? This could probably make a good YouTube story. So I paid for the pizzas, and I'm not going to try to run away and not pay the bill. I was like, you know what? If it's that hectic, take the pizzas. I don't really mind. So I could say that would be my Japan Tinder horror story. And after we discussed, this is actually our second time filming it. The first time it didn't film. We talked about differences in food between Colombia and Japan. And Alex, you described some very interesting Colombian food. Please could you tell us about it?
The main 2 are areco, which consists of pollo, chicken, and plantain, the green one, not the yellow one.
And then the Jamaican plantain.
And then it is mixed in like soup, but this soup is not thick, it's really watery, and it's put in a bowl, and it's really runny. So when you look at it, it's not really like, do I have to eat this? But you have to eat it. If you deny it, if you refuse, that would be really offensive. So, funny story, I went to a family gathering, and then the mother cooked ayeco, and I didn't really want to eat it, but I had to. And then in the end, I really liked it because it had some herbs. They put herbs in it, and the chicken was really great. And then so that's ayeco. And then there's pan de paisa, which I really like.
Okay. What is it?
It consists of arroz, rice, and it has chicharron sometimes, which is pork, and minced carne, and then it's just a mixture. And sometimes it has eggs, avocado, and also plantain again.
Wow. Wow.
Plantain in almost everything.
What a taste.
Plantain. So it's really great. I love it. And then there's arepas.
Arepa.
Yeah, arepa. Arepa paisa is my favorite because it tastes nice. It's with butter, and it's really good.
Okay.
And then another funny story is the arepa is mixed. It's like salsa from where I've come from,
Okay.
and it's made out of maize. And then so the whole process is almost similar until the very final end where they fry it and we boil it. That's
Okay.
the only difference. But it was really great to know that there's a bit of a link in between there.
Okay, so maybe for more of an explanation, for anyone who doesn't know what sadza is, in southern Africa, a very popular meal made from ground up maize or corn, and I believe in USA it's called polenta, and it's usually white in color. I know there's an American one that's yellow, but in southern Africa, Zimbabwe it's called sadza, in South Africa it's called pap, in Zambia it's called nshima, and in Kenya it's called ugali. And each particular region has got different types. And in Zimbabwe, it's made, I believe, smooth. At least in my household when I was growing up, it was made smooth. In South Africa, it's made a bit more jagged and rougher. But this is like the heart and soul of Southern African cuisine. So for you to encounter something like that in Colombia, and it being
It was
such an
really
important
amazing. It
meal,
was really
is-
fascinating.
Wow. Wow, cultural deja vu.
And then also on that linking I don't know what you call it, international
Yeah.
meeting, I found out that the music in Zimbabwe is almost similar to the music from the coast
Really?
of Colombia. And now I remember the dance.
Wow.
It's called champeta.
Champeta. And
Yeah,
oh,
Shakira
wow.
made it famous on the Super Bowl. So the champeta music is almost similar to Sungura music in Zimbabwe.
No way. Really?
Yeah, and I'm actually planning maybe to do a documentary between champeta and Sungura, the similarities about it.
Oh, wow.
So it was also an amazing experience. That was something I could share with the ladies there and say, this music is the same from my home country. And they'll be so intrigued. They would say, play us a song. And we would play a song, and it's actually really, we're mixing, and we had something to talk about to break the ice, and it was really great.
Oh, wow. So please, could you plug your YouTube or your Instagram so people could, follow your content?
Azureartinc.
Okay.
When I do the documentary, I'll show you.
Okay. So
Of course.
Azure like the color, and Prince
Azure,
like royalty.
Italian,
Yeah.
yes, Prince royalty.
Oh, wow.
Italian Azure, blue.
Okay, fantastic. And he's also an animator, and perhaps in the next part of this video, we'll also talk about animation. But we still need to talk about languages. So Colombia, we're talking Spanish. Japan, we're talking Nihongo, Japanese.
Hola, ¿cómo
Yeah.
estás?
And Alex is going to give you 5 tips to pick up Spanish. How do I go from 0 to conversation? 5 tips.
Well, the obvious one is get an app to help you.
Okay.
That will be number 1. I think first thing first, get an app and Duolingo. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to plug it here.
Plug away, plug away.
Duolingo is one that I found was very helpful in learning Spanish, the day-to-day basics, hola, qué tal, cómo estás. And then, of course, being in it, in Colombia, in a Spanish-speaking place, meeting people and actually practicing things you learned, the little words you learned. And then I had a friend who would send me a text of the word of the day. And she was really nice. She would send me word of the day today, and then I would also tell her an English word, and then we'll do a language exchange there.
So that's 4 tips. A 5th tip to pick up Spanish from 0 to conversation.
Music. Listen to the music. Reggaeton, listen to the salsa. In Colombia, it's more, salsa, bachata. And they have like a unique music. It's not like the whole of Southern America. For Colombia, their music is really unique to Mexico, where it's Mexico mainstream. And reggaeton is not really Colombian.
Mm.
They have their own local music.
Fantastic. What would you say is the most common Spanish word that you heard having lived in
Claro,
Colombia?
claro, sí, claro,
Sí, claro.
claro, sí,
Claro.
claro que.
Oh, wow.
Everything. If you say something to them, they reply, sí, claro. ¿Dónde estás?
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow.
Voy a salir, sí, claro.
It's a Spanish lesson right there for you. Okay. So my 5 tips to get conversational in Japanese from 0 to conversational. Tip number 1, having a good structure. Now, the challenge with Japanese versus Spanish, I'll say, is going to be your reading and writing. Japanese has got 3 writing systems: hiragana, katakana, and kanji. And each one of them needs adequate time. So I'll say having a structure for how you're going to go about it. Whether you want to go immersion, if you're using the AJAT method, all Japanese all the time, have a good structure. If you like Katsumoto's method, which is AJAT, or if you want to use podcasts like Japanese Pod 101, whichever method you choose, the scope is so wide, you need a good structure for how much you're going to take on each day. So you don't try to do too much or too little. You have just enough to keep you consistently growing. A good structure. Next, I would say, is getting good material, good teaching material. If you're constantly going on Google and trying little bits and pieces of each different system, you're only ever going to get so far. You might be a bit short on grammar, or you may know how to speak but not know how to read or write. So tip number 2, I highly recommend getting good teaching material. Maybe just to foreshadow, I'm working on some teaching material. I don't know when it will be ready though, but my teaching material will come a bit later. But till you can get mine, try find other good teaching material. Tip number 3, a lot of people like to watch anime or read manga to learn Japanese, and I do think it can help understand the structure of some words. I personally don't recommend using anime only to learn Japanese, but I'd say read actual articles from a native Japanese website, so matcha.com or even Bloomberg, or maybe even a children's book. Anime can be nice, but anime has got very big characters with big personalities, and some of them can say slightly offensive things, or the masculine and feminine in Japanese is very defined. So if you are a man watching an anime about a lot of Japanese women, you can sound very female when you're talking. So again, I don't recommend using purely anime to learn Japanese. The next one is, a lot of people will tell you, is using SRS. Those are the flashcards on Anki.com, and I recommend that one a lot to learn Japanese, because you need repetition. You need to see a certain word multiple times to really keep it in there. And if I had to pick tip number 5, add Japanese people on Instagram. Find a native Japanese speaker and try understand the Instagram posts they're making, because they use everyday common words that could be useful. A lot of the time, if you use a textbook, you sound like a robot, because they use Japanese that no one uses. So I really recommend following people on Instagram and just trying to translate and decipher what native speech sounds like. And just to follow up on the same question I asked Alex, the most common Japanese words I heard living in Japan, if you're ever around young Japanese people, kawaii. Everything is kawaii. Oh, kawaii, kawaii. And kawaii means cute. So kawaii is a very common Japanese word you'll hear. Sumimasen, excuse me, sumimasen, sumimasen is very common. If you ever walk around Japanese shops, you'll hear irashaimase. Irashaimase is welcome to my shop. And you don't reply to irashaimase. It's just something that is said out of formality.